To item 4, request to address the board. First on my list is Sarah Galt. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate the conversations and the sharing that I just heard. Like most in our community, I support our students, teachers, and the school district. I believe good public schools are foundational to a strong democracy. Along with about 2/3 of the voters, I voted no on the recent bond proposal. This defeat is a strong message, as you mentioned, that the proposal was unacceptable to the community. I would suggest to you that the thinking behind the bond proposal was also flawed. I challenge MPS to think again about the district needs in a new way. The past and perhaps current thinking is not going to work. Be appropriately frugal and focus on the critical, not the nice to have. Do be more transparent with the community about the embedded projects, the alternatives considered, and all of their costs. Without that transparency, you have lost some of the trust from the community. Instead, we have the impression that everything that anyone wanted was added to the proposal. As an example of frugality, do not hold any more off-cycle elections. The cost of about $100,000 could have been spent on teachers and students. Remember that class size is critical for both students and teachers. Class size is more important than the latest gadgets. Do not incur interest over a 30-year bond for items with a short life. Consider a sinking fund and do a better job of maintenance in current facilities. I challenge you all to change the thinking and come back with a proposal that is much cheaper, smaller in scope, and focuses on what is critical for teachers and students. Thank you.
Ladies.
Welcome to the post-May 16th paradigm. And if it is any consolation, many school bonds failed across the state, including most of the big ones. I was on vacation recently and had a chance to read 1984, and it unfortunately resonated with this bond. The significant drumbeats of the bond's defense fell into place. 1, only look at our website for the truth. Trust only our data. Sounds like Orwell's Ministry of Truth as the only source one should believe, despite the fact that the data on our site came from your documents or the state of Michigan. 2, we saw doublespeak on several occasions. Northeast Middle School is falling apart and needs to be replaced, but it is safe for another 9 years. Or if this bond does not pass, we will have no money, Ringgold on Facebook, but we whip out $4.1 million for an extracurricular activity for 450 kids. Or we can't put money in an old building like Northeast, but we can put $43 million into a building only 7 years younger, Midland High. 3, it will feel like 3.25 mils versus the legally required bond language of 3.90, and later rising to 4.95. The people's money does not have feelings. We either possess it, or in this case, it is confiscated by the government, because people live on a budget and don't get massive injections on the side. 4, your emotional similes were disrespectful to the 30% disadvantaged in our district. Going with the only $1 a day does not resonate with the person who just canceled their Netflix subscription because it did not fit in their budget anymore. 5, in a true anti-1894 or 1984 paradigm, the proletariat or the proles were able to stand and revolt against the party elite. Sorry if shiny new buildings are part of the corporate recruiting needs. We want the kids to be able to read without busting the budget. But enough George Orwell. You asked for input on the significant no vote on May 6th, so here's mine. I will grant you that you cannot keep the wheels on with the state's per student allowance. Given that, I would propose you try and pass a less than 2 mil sinking fund ASAP. A 1.95 mil tax will get you something like $5.9 million a year. That and the bloated fund balance will let you do what you need to do and a few nice to haves to keep the things going for now. Don't pause like you did in 2013 and let the wheels fall off. You don't get to determine your legacy. Time will tell. And the shiny new buildings won't have a luster you think when its tax signature will still be around for half of its lifetime. Just because MASB says it is lawful to not present information that is not flattering to your efforts, it looks worse when it comes out and you call it misinformation. That dog don't hunt anymore. Lastly, I will acknowledge that being on the school board is a thankless job. And despite the accusations, I'm not against education. We just need to figure out how to prioritize fundamentals again.
Thanks, Joe. Steven Sapieck.
I too, like a lot of these people here, voted no on that bond proposal. And for me, it was a maintenance of those buildings. And that's something that's probably going to be FOIA'd, is the records on all your buildings, because that needs to be very transparent. When you're trying to push this big bond, and you didn't do yourself a favor by not including the interest on it, like this group dug for you, that was huge. I talked to a lot of my neighbors, and a lot of them are elderly, but some young people, and they were shocked. It took us older group of people to wake them up, because I'm not going to see the end of this bond. I'll be dead, just like a lot of these people will be. It's going to carry on, whatever you guys do. But I agree with them on the sinking fund. You're going to have to do something. You can't wait. And I tell you what, the first thing I learned is you got to be honest. You got to be upfront. And as far as Mr. Lauterbach and what he was saying, I agree with it. But you're forgetting one thing back from those days. You were proposal A, like you said, we're in a different era now. So you got to start thinking outside the box. That's washed away. But you got to maintain your buildings. I worked in industry my whole life. I'm 67 years old, and I'm here to tell you, I worked in a lot of old buildings, but there was huge capital put into them all along, and that's what needs to be done. School buildings aren't industry. There's a total different nature. Roofs are paramount, and you must keep the boilers. You have to maintain those. You can't let them get into disrepair. I'm going to tell you right now, teachers and you school board, most of you people don't have the expertise on that. I've seen it from the inside. I know what it is. All you need to do is go over to the city of Bay City, because I worked for that wastewater plant over there, and I lost my job because of funding cuts. I could have bumped into their water plant. Had I done that, I would have been still looking for a job, and I seen why. Because they didn't maintain it. It was 4 years older than the newest part of the Midland water plant, where I ended up retiring out of last year. Because of maintenance, because they didn't maintain it, right from the top on down, the plant superintendent, and I knew that. And it was a damn shame. It really did a disservice to that city over there.
Bill Domina.
I learned a lot recently about the makeup of the voters in the outer parts of the district and in the older and lower income sections of the city of Midland. I delivered dozens of campaign signs and heard their fears and frustration at being hit with yet another tax increase when they are barely getting by. One elderly lady at church was almost in tears, stating that her grocery bills had doubled over the last 4 years and that even $300 a year was going to be devastating. She even said that she personally knew of several families living in a single-family house just to make ends meet. I think that MPS needs to hear their cries when asking for additional tax dollars. Second, I strongly encourage the board to switch from seeking a bond to a sinking fund for specifically enumerated items, such as 10 buses over the term of the fund, renovate Northeast infrastructure, etc. Vague language on what the money may be used for will likely fail, as trust is lacking. Voters were viscerally angry at the foolishness of financing items with limited life cycles, such as buses and laptops for 25 years. Third, a lawyer friend who attended Woodcrest relayed that he remembered how the appearance of both the interior and exterior of the school decreased significantly when custodians were replaced by contract cleaning staff. Custodians may cost more, but invested people take pride in their school and communicate maintenance issues before significant damage occurs. I recommend that you hire nested custodians again. If you say that MPS can't afford them, then I suggest you can't afford not to. Fourth, at the last board meeting, a craftsman who worked with contract firms on projects in several MPS buildings, we had a long discussion regarding MPS maintenance and how many projects designed by major engineering firms in the past often lack the institutional knowledge and practical understanding necessary to result in an optimal outcome. I suggest forming a citizens committee consisting of people with hands-on experience ranging from craftsmen to project managers in both commercial and industrial settings to review the current maintenance strategy and implementation practices. A robust, predictive, preventive maintenance program is critical. Finally, based on board decisions in the recent past to demolish multiple schools, voters see MPS as having a philosophy analogous to leasing a car every 4 years to avoid doing the maintenance, where in this case, MPS wants new buildings instead of making every effort to maximize service life. This needs to change. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the board this time?
Good evening. Renita Bonadies. I believe this board did a disservice to this community with this bond proposal, and I'm grateful the community gave a resounding no vote. I asked MPS a couple of times on post if school choice kept the building capacities at the 85% utilization target. I never did get an answer. Was it because you don't use that as one of the criteria when determining those open seats? The board and administration labeled our campaign disinformation, but never stated which of our facts were incorrect. Did the district try to emotionally pressure the public into debt? The public was told if this bond didn't pass, then the money would have to be cut from teachers and parapros for the increase in needed general fund expenses. We may have hedged new shiny buildings, but no real proof the children would have benefited academically. However, those children could still be paying on that debt while raising their children if they chose to stay in Midland. At the January 29th meeting last year, my husband asked about the bond proposal and why the public was not hearing any details. Brad's response was, "We are barely even started. We have to reach out to the people and have focus groups and community input. So we don't have anything that we could even dream up of a date for a bond proposal. We have a lot of work to do for that." Then by fall, we hear that the board has been working on this bond for a couple of years. Now, which of these facts is the truth? How is the public to know when to believe what we are being told? One of the primary jobs of this board was to hire a superintendent. Joe and I sat through that process, attending the presentations and interviews in person. It was quite clear that MPS did not attract the cream of the crop, but why? MPS is touted as outstanding and academically excellent, and Midland is a great community. So why didn't highly qualified and experienced candidates apply? Why didn't the board wait until a truly qualified group of candidates applied? Why settle? During the interview process, it was clear the board knew Ms. Miller-Nelson didn't have the needed financial background. She said she had Brian on her team to help with that area. After being hired, she moved Brian to a newly created assistant superintendent position. This added $230,000 to the general administration budget. So that, along with the $295,000 total compensation for the superintendent, means that it is now costing the district $525,000 to do the job of the previous superintendent. There is a real issue with the transparency and openness of this board as it relates to the community. Verbally going after members of the community instead of improving transparency is certainly not the answer. You can do better, or resign. Thank you.
Anybody else? right. Okay. Close the floor. If there are specifics that you want to share with us, please reach out. If there are specifics on information that you did not get, please reach out. If there are questions that you don't have answers to, please reach out. Happy to answer any of those that you might have.